Okay. All right, so I just want to welcome everybody here to this special education meeting that we're going to have. Elizabeth Parents and Students Care wants to be able to do what we do best, which is educate parents. And there were some recent changes to the I&RS policy, the intervention referral services policy. So we've asked Maria Lorenz to come on and explain what I&RS is and what those changes are. And she's put together a PowerPoint presentation. So she's going to run through it. And if anybody has any questions, then we'll get to the questions at the end. Okay, or maybe we'll do it in between, however it flows. Okay, Maria, we're gonna turn it over to you and get started.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for setting this up and putting this together. We're going to be doing a series of special education topics.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we get started, Maria, do you want to just give a little background about you and special ed and all of your certifications and all that great stuff?
So my name is Maria Lorenz, and I have been in this district now for 15 years. I have 2 special needs children, and I have done training through SPAN, the SRP program through SPAN for parents. I also did the Rights Law training, which can be found online. And I also did the COPA training, which is the Council of Parents, Attorney and Advocates. It's a very rigorous course. The first course was an 8-week course, and the second was a 26-week course. So and having my experiences here in Elizabeth have taught me very well about special education and the different areas of special education, as well as how to advocate for my children and also children in the community. I've been doing that for over 10 years now.
Great.
So tonight our topic is special education, I&RS, which is also known as intervention and referral services. So what does that mean? What is I&RS? And I'm trying to see if it will advance my screen. There we are. It's an interdisciplinary team of professionals within the school environment who come together throughout the school year to formulate coordinated services and team delivery systems to address the full range of student learning, behavior, social, and health problems in the general education program, as well as students determined to be in need of special education programs and services. This is directly taken from the NewJersey.gov education website. And the goal of this committee is to see measurable student improvement in the identified targeted areas, develop an action plan that contains goals and interventions, and a timeline for the plan's duration. So what can we do to request I&RS services? What topics, what areas? Academics, if you have a child that's consistently failing core subjects, despite whatever interventions are being given in the classroom, you see their grades are dropping, they have academic demotivation, difficulty with reading comprehension or written expression, or incomplete assignments, refusal to participate. Behavior and social, they're either defiant, non-compliant, they're withdrawing, they're not interacting with their peers, there could be bullying, it could be chronic absenteeism because they're avoiding going to school. Or it could be a health condition. It could be a medical condition, difficulty focusing, sleep deprivation or fatigue, or they could be taking a medication that has side effects. However, one thing to note, and it's super important, is that you have to be prepared to provide descriptive, observable, and factual academic behavior or health information. How do you accomplish this? You can see your child. You have access to Power School. The teacher may write notes in the Power School as comments. You can have communications with your teacher as well to see about these behaviors and what's going on or why they're failing or how they're interacting in school. And that helps you to be able to document. What the district and the schools cannot do is use these intervention and services to delay referrals for special education. By law, they cannot do this. They can't tell you, well, let's try this first, right?
Mhm.
They cannot create barriers to appropriate evaluations to determine whether your child may or may not have a disability. I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, parents don't think their child has a disability. And sometimes they go struggling through the whole school. They hate going to school because they're not getting the help that they need. So plainly put, the school cannot tell you that they're going to do I&RS first before they evaluate. If this happens, get it in writing, and we can guide you on filing a state complaint. Okay? This is the process for I&RS. Identification by either yourself or a teacher that's requesting assistance. There is a form that has to be completed and submitted. Please do not do verbal requests. At any case and point, whether you're in this district or out of this district, if you say it, it's like you never said it. It's not documented anywhere. It's like it never happened. Everything needs to be in writing. Review the requested form by a designated school rep. Once you submit it, somebody from the school will review it. Then after that, a case coordinator is assigned, and you have an I&RS meeting that is scheduled. The Board of Ed just recently changed their policy. So the policy details who can participate. The state is clear about the person that's requesting the intervention, the principal are involved, the general education teacher, and it even states the support staff that can be included in an I&RS meeting, such as the guidance psychologist, learning disabilities teacher consultant, a social worker, a speech therapist, a nurse, anyone that may be appropriate as a support staff to your child. As you can see, the Elizabeth Board policy took all of those components away. So the policy, your board members decided that it was not relevant for you to know all of this information. This is what the policy looked and what they wanted to change. So everything that they put here that struck out is what they took out. As you can see, the team composition, before they told you that the building principal or designee and instructional staff member, everything I just said that the state says should be who should be in the meeting, the board policy no longer mentions that. They even took out the selection process, that the principal determines the selection of who should be in the team, or the characteristics of what composes an effective team was completely taken away. This is what the Board of Ed does not want you to know. In addition to that, they also took out professional development, as you can see right here. All school staff should be afforded professional development. They took that out. Staff members should be knowledgeable about the district. They took that out. Knowledge requirements. Parental involvement. Nothing happens without you, the parent or the guardian. They took that out. Okay, it no longer exists. And community members, where appropriate, that the team will involve community resources, they took that out. They also took out the team meetings, right? That each building will develop a schedule for when these meetings are to happen. They took that out. And they did it starting May 7th, and they voted on this policy in August. They finalized it. It's done. This is why your voice is super important to implement and help advocate for your child. I went and I spoke about this policy and how wrong it was, and the Board of Ed still went ahead and changed this policy for the worse, not for the better, because if you're a person who looks for the policy to see what the process is, you wouldn't know that you have all of those rights. So it's very important to have involvement. Any questions?
Um, I just want to make it clear before we start asking questions that the meeting is being recorded, and we're going to share this meeting on our parent page. So in case you're going to ask any kind of personal questions, we'll shut off the recording. And I think we should kind of do that now anyway, right? Because if or do you want to leave it on for the question period? I just don't want anybody saying anything of their personal experiences while we're recording.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so Ricky, can we shut the recording off
Or pause it, Ricky,
or pause it?
please.
Within certain timelines. They have to go back and respond to you. If you request for an IEP, there are timelines that the school has to adhere to.
Okay.
Okay. When you do I&RS,
Mm-hmm.
the policy at the way the board has written it, we don't know what form it is that they want us to fill. We don't know if it's going to take a month, a week, or a year for them to come in I&RS,
Right.
because there's nothing in the policy that dictates that. The policy is vague. It is vague for a reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Marcella, just
Yes.
one more thing. The IEP
Mm-hmm.
is by law,
By law.
and because it's by law, it has safeguards built into it that
Okay.
people can use. The I&RS is not a law.
No.
It's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation, it's an intervention. Now, I will say from personal experience, sharing that here myself,
Mhm.
District of Elizabeth has violated my child's IEP several times,
Okay.
right? And when they do violate, I have recourse. I can go file a complaint. The
Mhm.
state can find them non-compliant.
Okay.
And then the state will have a corrective action plan put
Okay.
into place so that they follow the law. I'll give you an example. There was a year where my son's IEP was not read. The
Okay.
law for special education states that the child's IEP must be read. How do you know to follow something if you haven't read it?
Right.
And when I asked, they wanted to have a meeting. And I said, I'm not having a meeting. I want you to answer yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
But they still insisted on a meeting. I went, I filed a state complaint. The state came back, did a corrective action, and said, District, you were wrong. You needed to read the child's IEP. Oh, but his teacher for specials doesn't start until the spring. It doesn't matter. Anyone that comes into contact with my child, be it the nurse, the teacher, the cafeteria lady that's serving him lunch,
Uh-huh.
anyone that comes into contact with my child needs to read that IEP because they need to understand his academics, his socio-emotional component. They need to understand the whole child, not just the parts that pertain to them, if that makes sense.
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
mean, Maria. I'm sorry. Yes, Maria.
No, that's okay. Very informal. Man, makes me feel super old. I know I got some grades going on here. But that is a violation. Another violation is when they don't follow the IEP and they haven't provided my child with a service. Let's say, for example, an FM system. If
Okay.
your child needs sound to be amplified because they have a central auditory processing disorder, what does that mean? That when I'm speaking to my child, what he hears isn't what he understands.
Got you.
And if I repeat something to my child, I need to repeat it the exact same way that I said it to him the first time for him to understand what I said again. And on a one-on-one situation, that's okay. He'll understand. But if he's in a bigger situation with 20 other kids in his class, he's going to struggle.
Got
So
you.
the teacher wears a mic and there's a speaker on his desk, and that amplifies the sound of what the teacher is saying to him, regardless of all the other noise that's happening around.
Got you.
And I saw myself having to, again, file a procedural safeguard because what happened, they didn't provide him with an FM system.
Got you.
So I have recourse. I can file a complaint. I can go to due process in front of a judge and tell them that the district did not comply. And those are my recourses. When you have I&RS, so you have a 504 accommodation plan, there's
Mhm.
not a lot of recourse there. A 504 is an accommodation. In order for you to have recourse, you can file a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights. But guess what? That complaint is going to take a year and a day. Because now you're talking federal, you're not talking state.
Right.
So that's going to take longer because God knows how many other parents filed that their 504 accommodations were not being followed.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I think it acts as a gatekeeper and it delays timely evaluations for children. And I don't think that's fair.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Lydia said.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Is it unmuted? Hello?
Is she?
You're not
No, we
you're not
can hear
muted.
you. It just sounds a little muffled or
Yeah.
far away.
I
Talk a
got my-
little louder.
I just said that I think that it acts as a gatekeeper. It basically keeps them from timely evaluations. From my perspective of things, how Elizabeth is running. And me personally, as a parent in this district, and my son, he has autism and special needs. I run into a lot of this, and it's like they don't want to give you answers, and a lot of people are hesitant to even try to talk to you. They say they'll take your information and talk to you, and then eventually you're just making the phone calls and trying to get through. But I think this whole thing is just a gatekeeping on what's actually happening inside of the school system, where they don't have enough. There's shortage, and instead of them coming up with some type of system to address this, they're just trying to gatekeep it and make it so that they can delay certain things and not really approach it like they're supposed to approach it.
But
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what? To your point, Lydia, the law states that they receive federal and state funds, right? And a lack of resources on their end doesn't constitute a problem on yours, right? That's just what it is. If you have a shortage of teachers, if you have a shortage of therapists, that's a district problem. And the district has board members in place to address these situations, and they should be making decisions together. That's not our problem. We have a severe issue where we have kids that have not been identified beyond 11% in Elizabeth, when there are districts that are larger than us and are finding and identifying these children and giving them the supports that they need. So a lack of resources on their end does not constitute a problem on my end. The law states that you have to give my child the resources that he needs in order to get a free and appropriate public education. It's called FAPE. If you're denying my child's FAPE, then there's a problem.
And I had an issue with in Elizabeth. So my son, his transportation, where they didn't. He
Oh,
needs
wait,
280.
1 second. I just want to remind you that it's being recorded. So let me just pause